the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. 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 Don't be scared. Just look me up. Don't be scared. Back. I won't stop, I'ma fight until there's nothing left. It's so on, you're gonna be hurting bad, cause I've been to hell and back. You don't wanna make me mad, I stay strong, you will never see me crack. And if you get in my way, you gonna feel the wrath. Gotta say it to my face while he's looking back. Mirror breaks after math, when I hate, I attack. I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. Don't be scared. Just look me up. Don't be scared. Love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel.
Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Thursday Stardom Sit-'em live stream right here on the YouTube channel. If you haven't already, subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel, growing every single moment of the day. Thanks to all of you. And of course, when you're a subscriber, click that bell for notifications so you know every time a great piece of content drops. And speaking of content dropping, the man who drops the content like it's hot every single day here at Fantasy Pros, Andrew Erickson. What's up, AE? How you doing today?
Doing good. I don't have a lot of Brandon Cooks on any of my rosters, so I don't have a hole that I have to plug. So yeah, I'm doing good so far on this Thursday.
Yeah, seriously. How about that? So Brandon Cooks, not a big fan of playing. Cam Akers doesn't look like he's playing, so much for that Rams backfield. So we're going to get some Ronnie Rivers this weekend, baby. Let's go. I picked him up in a deep league. What else is a boy to do?
Well, I mean, they said that Cam Akers was actually coming back to practice.
Oh,
So we may end up
nice.
seeing him. I don't know what their deal is. I mean, they tried to trade him, I guess, but now they can't. So they have him on the roster. They clearly hate Darrell Henderson. So I don't know what this Rams back. I mean, it's just a mess. They can't run the ball anyway, like behind that offensive line. So it doesn't really matter like who gets the majority of touches. They're playing Tampa Bay, two teams that last year were both in the playoffs between Tampa Bay and the Rams, and now you look at them, you're like, what happened? Like these teams were the top of the NFC, and now, I mean, that I was so shocked to see the total of that game. 42.5 points. Rams, Bucks. I was like, oh my God, like that's only a couple of points than the Patriots Colts game. Like this is crazy.
and I'm considering the under still with the way they all perform. Let me
Man.
tell you, could you imagine when you made that on the schedule? Like all those people who work for the NFL, they sat there and go, "Oh, look at this. We're only going to have 2 games that afternoon, right? Yeah, it's some Arizona Cardinal game, but we're going to get Tom Brady and the defending champion Rams, a rematch of the playoffs. It's going to be so great." Snooze. Nobody cares. It's terrible. It's awful. I'm going to watch it. I'm not going to be happy doing it. Andrew Erickson, let's go back to the Houston Texans for a moment. Was the questions start to filter in here to the chat? I have a question for you. With the Eagles potentially looking like a blowout here tonight, are you concerned at all about some of these guys? Like, are we going to get garbage time Boston Scott? Are we going to get weird things like that where some of these guys' value might be a little bit lower than we think because maybe by the third quarter this game is out of hand? Any concerns with that at all? Not that you can play against it, but just to be aware of.
I mean, I think so, but I find that when you bet on, oh, well, this team's going to blow out this other team, and that means these guys are going to score as many points. Usually that's not a great process, in my opinion. I've dabbled in that before, and more times than not, you're usually just like, look, they have to score the points. Like, and there's no reason why. I mean, the Eagles in the second quarter, they average like 3 touchdowns per game. So someone's going to be scoring those touchdowns. They're going to put up points in this game. And I think that they're obviously here, but let's put the NFL on notice. Like everyone's going to be watching this game, at least the first half, and the Eagles can show everyone that, when we play bad teams, we go out and destroy them. So I'm not going to necessarily think, oh, well, they're going to blow them out. They're going to take them out of the game. If they blow out the Texans, chances are Jalen Hurts is scoring 3 or 4 touchdowns. Like guys are hitting. Not everyone is going to hit, obviously, for the Eagles just because of the way their offense operates. So maybe it's Devonta Smith that gets left out. A.J. Brown doesn't catch the touchdown or Dallas Goedert, but I'm not going to take any of these Eagles out of my lineup against a horrible Texans defense. So I wouldn't be too worried about it. Maybe in a DFS perspective, like you can think about maybe dabbling into Boston Scott here and there, something like that. But in redraft leagues, just start your Eagles. Don't overthink it.
All right. What about Jonathan Taylor? Certainly things going in a weird direction there. I told you a couple weeks ago on the buy sell pod, I said, look, Taylor, I don't want to deal with this ankle thing. I feel like it's going to linger. And here we are. It's week 9. And guess what? It's lingering. So in the words of the Cranberries, do we have to let it linger, or can we actually make a trade here for Jonathan Taylor and just move on, take what we can get, and get a W in week 9?
Yeah, I think you got to move on. He was one of the players that I highlighted in the players to trade video that I do every week for Fantasy Pros, Jonathan Taylor. And look, it's just not his year. Like he's banged up. The Colts offensive line is horrible. They are moving to Sam Ellinger. If they wanted to win games, they would start Nick Foles. Like, let's be honest here. Like, if they were trying to win, they would probably start Nick Foles over Sam Ellinger. So they're not in the department of winning games. It seems more often than not, or more likely than not, they'll just shut down Jonathan Taylor. Like they traded for Zach Moss, another like grinder running back, traded away Nyheim Hines. Deon Jackson's like an exciting player that can obviously handle a workload. So if Jonathan Taylor is not 100%, they'll be like, you know what? We'll shut you down for 2023. We'll give Deon Jackson 20 touches per game, and we'll just lose every game. Whatever, we don't care. Because the Colts have just been doing the same thing the last 3 years. Okay, retread a quarterback. Like, they haven't had an actual franchise quarterback. So they need to take a reset. We talked about the bye weeks. Jonathan, they have a week 14 bye week. I mean, I'd be honestly, if Taylor doesn't get better soon, I would not even be surprised to see him not like he doesn't come back after the bye week. So
that's my fear too. Like all these things like, oh, well, acquire him and it'll be for the playoffs. Well, what makes you think necessarily that that's going to be a good look?
If they're out of it doesn't make sense to me that he's going to be involved. So Colts players right now, even like Pittman, I know his target share looked great last week. This is a team that doesn't want to win games, and that concerns me dramatically.
Yeah. 13 targets for 42 yards. Let's go, Michael Pittman. Here's another one, too, for you. Keenan Allen. We discussed this, right? A few weeks ago also, the concerns about the re-aggravation and what that potentially meant. We talked about it from a medical standpoint, and here we are now where things are not going in the right direction. Obviously, Joshua Palmer, very, I would say, trendy pickup and a trendy play this week in week 9. Are you buying that trend of Palmer? And what are you going to do with Keenan Allen? Because I don't think anyone's taking him off your hands.
I mean, Keenan Allen, it's never good when you come back from the bye week and you don't practice. Like
No.
that is a major red flag. And is this hamstring injury just, it doesn't seem like it's going away. And it's concerning because if he wasn't going to play that much anyway before their bye week, why did they play him at all? It's just one of these things that these coaches just do these very, questionable things with their players. And it's like, just let him get healthy. Like, hamstrings need rest. You have to rest your legs. Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
So Allen, yeah, I mean, if you have him, I would try to trade him right now, based on just his perceived value, and hope that he doesn't basically, get re-injured again, or because it's all perception with him. We haven't seen him play all year long.
Well, you
except for
trade
week
him to
one.
a team that's got high win totals right now that can say,
Yeah.
well, maybe I'll have him healthy by the playoffs, and you take whatever you can get. I mean, I would take Allen Lazard for him in a second if I could get that.
Yeah.
And that might be a trade that's available. Something in that range where it's just a decent
Yep.
wide receiver that you can start. I think that's all you're looking for with Keenan Allen right now in return.
Yeah, with these players, it's really like the lower body injuries. That is the real concern. So like Lazard, we know it's a shoulder injury. So like I'm not
Right.
as concerned about that like having a long-term effect on how he plays versus running backs with their ankle. I mean, the ankle thing is horrible. Like once you get the ankle injury, you never come back. Like it's very, very just the hit rate for those players coming back in the same season and being the same type of production is just, it's not good. So try to get away from these injured players, even if it's 75 cents on the dollar. You can still get good value for Jonathan
Sure.
Taylor based on his name brand. Same thing with Keenan Allen.
I would
They're
take Khalil
established
Herbert
players.
in a piece for Jonathan Taylor right now. And I know that doesn't sound sexy and exciting, but you know what? Khalil Herbert's going to play. Khalil Herbert is by far the better
He's
running
good.
back of the two.
He's good.
I mean, he's good. And you know it's going to be a run-heavy offense. So
Yeah.
just take the bodies you need to go get some W's here because you can't keep waiting anymore. We're in week 9, and we've got your questions for week 9. And before we get to them, just a quick reminder, too, if you want to ask a question, well, you have to be a subscriber. And because you're subscribers and you're all fun and great, and you go ahead and subscribe to our podcast here and you subscribe to the YouTube channel here, what you do is you do that. You drop a little question or comment in the chat, and you could win a DK Metcalf autographed jersey signed from Pristine Auction. That's right, the Seattle Seahawks' own monster of the Northwest, DK Metcalf, number 14. Look at that, signed right on the number 1 because he is number 1 in our hearts. So if you like this jersey, you want to shout at this, well, go leave a little comment in the chat, be a subscriber, and don't forget to click that bell till it goes ding for notifications so you know every time a piece of content drops. And if you are the big winner. All right, let's get to Jeremy Wilson. He's a big winner. He's got to choose between Allen Lazard and Romeo Doubs. I'm going Lazard, Erickson. How about you?
Yeah, I'm going Allen Lazard as well.
Yeah, let's go. Jennifer Hafner, our 1-1 of the live stream. Gabe Davis or JuJu Smith-Schuster, half-point PPR. She says, thanks. This is getting trickier now. I mean, we've had a big back-to-back serving size of JuJu Smith-Schuster, Andy Reid coming off a bye. I hate to say this, but I kind of feel like I'm leaning JuJu as the safer guy. Do you agree or disagree?
Oh, no, I definitely agree he's a safer guy for sure. I mean, Davis is always scary to sit because he can put up 30 points like that just because of his role in the offense. And he saw a lot of targets last week for the first time. It was weird because usually we don't get the targets, we just get production. It's like, oh, we got the targets, but didn't get the production last week. So, but yeah, JuJu has seen nearly 8 targets in almost all of his games this season. It's a good matchup against the Titans, who are a complete pass funnel defense. The Chiefs are not going to want to run the football. Like they don't care to run the balls anyway. So they're going to throw it. And yeah, I think from a safe perspective, I'd probably go with JuJu. The Jets have good perimeter cornerbacks. So if they can limit Gabe Davis on the outside between Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed, probably lean towards JuJu just in taking that floor.
Brandon Trussell, Ken Walker, Leonard Fournette, or Miles Sanders. I mean, this Walker for me, and it ain't close.
Yeah.
I know you like Miles Sanders against this matchup, but I mean...
Well, I mean, Ken Walker gets all of the work in his backfield, no matter what. So I would go with him. And Sanders has the Jalen Hurts effect, where Hurts can rush 3 touchdowns, and Sanders is kind of like,
And what we talked about at the top, right, Andrew? Which is, what if the fourth quarter is a blowout? What if they're going to rest some of the starters, and you are going to get some more Boston Scott in that run? I want Kenneth Walker in the more competitive game. Ben S., Drake London or Josh Palmer this week? Ooh, this is a good one. Where do you go, AE?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Josh Palmer here. I mean, he just plays on an offense that sees number one in passing volume. It's the total opposite of the Atlanta Falcons. Drake London has 10 targets in his last 3 games. Josh Palmer had 12 targets in his last game that he played. So I think you're chasing the volume here, especially if there's no Keenan Allen or Mike Williams, who we already know is going to be out of this game. Palmer's going to have a full-time role. I know Palmer hasn't really delivered. I think that he hasn't been necessarily 100% healthy. So out of the bye week, Palmer cleared the concussion protocol. I like Palmer a lot coming into the season. I'm not going to jump off the bandwagon. So I'm going to go back to Palmer here.
Not only that, too, AJ Terrell out. The corners for
great matchup. Yeah, great matchup.
Atlanta are not good. Even when Terrell was there, they weren't playing well. All right, let's get to the next one. Douglas Orr, thoughts on Deon Jackson? Well, you saw the high of Deon Jackson, which is without Nyheim Hines or Jonathan Taylor, he's capable of catching a lot of balls. I think he's a guy you can flex in PPR formats pretty comfortably this week, if indeed he is the guy. Andrew, are you as comfortable? I don't think I'm going to have the ceiling of the last time we saw him get the full workload, but even if we got 75% of that, I would take that in my flex spot.
Yeah, I think that he's a running back that the Colts would have no problem just giving all of the opportunities to. If they're not trying to win games, there is no Hines, there's no Taylor. If he misses games, like Zach Moss is there, but he's already on the injury report. So we don't know how heavy, and it's Zach Moss. So Deon Jackson showed that he has juice, and on a bad team, that's sometimes all you need. If he's playing all the snaps, he's going to return solid value. So I want to make sure Deon Jackson's on my bench. He should not be on your waiver wire.
No, he absolutely should not be. Let's go to the next one here. We've got a question from Young Krilo, who is clearly a very popular rapper. I love how every rapper is Young somebody or Lil somebody nowadays. I think that's great. Big fan. So Lil Erickson, let's talk about this. Or do you want to be Young Erickson? Which one do you like, Lil or Young?
Lil.
I thought you'd pick Young Erickson. I respect that.
My face says I'm young, so got that carried away. Got that taken care of.
Should we get / trade Chase? If so, for who? I don't know. It's a weird phrasing here. Should we trade Ja'Marr Chase is the question here. Now, the fact that he didn't go on IR, that is slightly encouraging. But a lot of this has to do with your record here, Krilo. Yeah. What are your thoughts here on you want to be on the side of Chase? And if so, when you have Chase here, what's your real expectation for him? It feels like you got to be a 6-win team right now to be doing that move.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have your eyes on the playoffs to have Chase in your IR spot or on your bench. I mean, if you're 3-5 and he's sitting there, like, you got to move him to try to get wins because he's not going to help you right now. And you can still move him because there are playoff teams, like you said, like he's a very great asset for a 7-0 team, a 6-1 team because of the impact he could have. Because unlike Jonathan Taylor shut down, like when Chase is healthy, I mean, the Bengals are fighting for their playoff lives. Like he's going to go, if he's healthy, he's going to be out there. And I would assume that he'd probably be very, very productive still. So, I mean, Jonathan Taylor is a guy that you could technically entertain a trade to get Ja'Marr Chase for. If you have Taylor and somehow have been able to win a lot of games, finagling a deal to get Ja'Marr Chase in return for Jonathan Taylor, who's obviously disappointed this year, I think would be a move that I would try to make.
All right, let's move to Kyle P's question. Josh Palmer, Khalil Herbert, or Michael Carter in the flex this week? Look, it doesn't give us a format here. So if it's PPR, is it Palmer for you?
Yes.
If it's half, is it Khalil or is it still Palmer?
I think in half PPR, I'd probably go with Khalil Herbert.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
I tend to agree. All right, let's go to John Williams, Swift or Foreman this week. This has gotten real close real quick, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think a lot of it depends on what kind of shakes up with the injuries. I mean, just what I know right now. I mean, I'm probably going to lean towards Foreman. I mean, Swift missed practice on Wednesday. I know Foreman missed practice as well, but it's because of rest because he's just been putting the team on his back. So they're just basically he's getting the veteran rest treatment.
Right, veteran rest day for the old Texas Longhorn.
And we still haven't seen Chuba Hubbard return to the lineup. Like, I don't know if he's going to play. He was limited this week after missing practice all last week. We talked about these ankle injuries, like, oh, it was fine. And then he missed an entire week and he missed the game. So clearly it wasn't fine. So I think that it's okay to stay in the flames of Foreman. He's got another good matchup, a Bengals defense that's really banged up. They keep on leaning on him. So until Swift shows that he's like 100% healthy, maybe if he logs a full practice on Thursday or Friday, I'd feel better about Swift because it's a great matchup against the Packers. But for right now, I'm going to go with Foreman.
Here's one from Move with Lance. Rondale Moore, Tyler Allgeier, or MVS this week in the flex half PPR spot. I love Moore working out of the slot against Seattle this week. That's where I go, Andrew. Do you agree? Because I'm a little worried about Allgeier, especially as Patterson news starts to unfold a little bit.
Yeah, I think that if Patterson's obviously active, it makes Allgeier a more fringy of a play. Probably would put him behind Rondale Moore for me. But if there's no Patterson, Allgeier's been the lead back for the Falcons so far this season, and he's playing the Chargers run defense that can't stop anybody. And the Falcons want to run the ball more than any other team in the NFL. So I would lean towards Allgeier if Patterson is not playing. If not, then Rondale Moore.
I think it's they don't want to pass more than any other team in the NFL. I think that's what it is. Let's go to Austin G. Starting Trevor Lawrence or Joe Burrow this week.
Still going to go back to Joe Burrow. I mean, I know
gotta
the
go back
garbage
to
time
Burrow.
touchdowns. Yeah, still go with Burrow.
I know it wasn't pretty. For some reason, the Browns just own him. What are you going to do? Alec Fogg. What do I do with Keenan Allen? Well, you trade him. And like we just talked about before, you look for an Allen Lazard type. You look for somebody who is a possession style wide receiver and you get some talent on the field. Heck, right now, would you trade Keenan Allen for Josh Palmer if you needed a W this week? I would. I'm over it. Let's go.
I feel like I get more for Keenan Allen than Josh Palmer. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
I don't
think
know
about it. Think about Josh Palmer's next month. Mike Williams dealing with an ankle injury, right?
Mm-hmm.
Keenan Allen can't get on the field. Josh Palmer might be a safer next 4-week investment than we realize, regardless of if Keenan Allen can or cannot get on the field.
Yeah, it's possible. Josh Palmer. I actually traded Josh Palmer for Dalton Schultz because I lost all my tight ends.
Well, just stream away. There's always somebody off the scrap heap at tight end. Ugh, what a terrible position that's been this year. Kyle Cabrera, desperate for RB. Is Cordarrelle a starter? Well, if he's back, he's going to get enough work. I mean, starter over what is the question? If you're looking at your ranks right now, what are your thoughts on Patterson?
I mean, I think that he's going to be in my top 24 running backs if we get, confirmation that he's going to start. I know he said that he's like a 90% healthy, and that honestly may all be he needs to be to, like I alluded to earlier with Allgeier. The Chargers run defense they can't stop anyone. And they're going to feed their running back. So I know that it gets confusing between Allgeier. They like Caleb Huntley too. But if they all get 10 carries, it wouldn't surprise me if they all rush for over 50 yards and they could all have the potential for a touchdown. So
Caleb Huntley goes back to the bench if Patterson shows up. I can understand Allgeier still getting work.
He had more carries than Allgeier last week.
I know, but I mean, with Patterson coming back, I don't know if that stays the case. You think all three of them eat? I think somebody's got to give.
I mean, why would they? They don't want to. If they only throw the ball 5 times.
I can't argue with that. Just can't argue with that. Cheyenne Perkins, half-point PPR, start 2. Dameon Pierce, Tyler Boyd, Jamal Williams, or Josh Palmer. Seems like Pierce is the only man standing there in Houston, Andrew.
I'm still going to start Dameon Pierce because
so he's in.
He's going to get volume.
So Boyd, good. Jamal Williams, or Palmer?
Probably going to go with Tyler Boyd.
All right, Tyler Boyd. Curtis, Joe and Andrew, start Curtis Samuel or Foreman if Chuba Hubbard plays. I'm starting Foreman regardless.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Show X1. Mack Hollins, Hunter Renfrow, or Terrace Marshall. Things have gotten ugly for our friend Show here.
I'm starting Terrace Marshall. I've seen enough of Hunter Renfrow do nothing all year. Mack Hollins has been
he ain't right.
Mack Hollins has been a nice treat, but he's just a one-dimensional perimeter receiver where Marshall last 2 weeks has really popped off a little bit more. He's getting red zone targets. Good match. The Bengals secondary is hurt everywhere. Like they're missing all of their cornerbacks. So
Wouzier's out for the year now with the torn ACL. Eli Apple is terrible anyway when he's on the field.
Hilton's hurt. Trey Flowers is hurt. All their guys are banged up.
I get it. Marshall play is in play. Bunny, JuJu, or Devonta Smith into PPR. I think you got to go with the JuJu. No.
Yeah, in full PPR, it's JuJu.
The JuJu, Brian Martinez, JuJu or Devin Duvernay. Everybody wants to know about the JuJu. All we do is talk about the JuJu today. I'm going JuJu over Duvernay too.
Correct.
Oh, good. Chris Moore? I just got this update from my playbook. Chris Moore is expected to have an increased role on the offense in Houston. You think?
I mean, he was out there last week, and he had 0 targets.
Expected role. There we go. Let's do it. Next one here, Darren S. Aaron Rodgers versus Detroit or Justin Fields versus Miami? Justin Fields. Stop hating yourself with Aaron Rodgers. This is a public service announcement for everybody. Justin Fields is like Jalen Hurts of last year. It ain't always pretty, but if you're going to rush for 75 yards a game for 3 straight games or in that range, you got to play Justin Fields, right?
Yeah, it's a good matchup too against the Dolphins. I like it.
Right. Look, I understand everyone sees the Lions defense and wants to get really excited, but we saw the Commanders defense a few weeks ago. How'd that work out?
Yeah, it's funny. Like the Commanders' defense looked good because they were playing the Packers' offense, and then they were obviously horrible the next week because they weren't playing the Packers. So,
Oh my God. All right, let's go to Kyle Westlake, Kenyon Drake, or Adam Thielen in the flex. Half PPR.
I'm sorry, I just don't trust Kenyon Drake. Like I just like how many times are we gonna do this? Like now he's the starter again. Oh, okay, now he's not.
Well,
okay,
he's
now
by
the starter.
default he's the starter right now. But what does
I
that mean? And
guess.
how's the game gonna go? That's the problem.
I mean, it seems like with Kenyon Drake, the weeks that we try to recommend him to start, he does nothing. He rushes 5 times for 10 yards, and then the weeks that somebody else comes back to take over the backfield, he rips these 80-yard touchdowns. So,
well, here's a question: if Andrews is out and they're really hamstrung, does that make you like Drake more? Because you don't have Bateman, you don't have Gus Edwards, you're running out of options here. Kenyon Drake theoretically would be in line for some more targets out of the backfield, you would imagine. But does it still measure up to Thielen regardless? You just take Thielen and just say, nope, Thielen, let's go. Just keep it simple.
I mean, I think I still lean towards Adam Thielen here. I mean, you have Hawkinson now in the fold, but how up to speed is he going to be in his first game? So theoretically, you're taking Irv Smith out of the red zone. Adam Thielen's obviously a big presence in the red zone. I just like that game environment more. Vikings Commanders, you could see be a little bit exciting, especially with the way that Heineke plays. Like Heineke is just never die. Like I want this game to be back and forth. Whereas we just saw the Saints shut out the Raiders. Like, how do you know they're not going to give trouble to a Ravens offense that, like you alluded to, is down all of their major weapons? Lamar has been struggling over the last month. Are we going to see a Baltimore offense just run over one of the better run defenses in the NFL in the New Orleans Saints? I guess I'm a little skeptical of that. So I'm going to go with Thielen.
Randy Hoyt, sit 1. Eckler, no. Mixon, Walker, A.J. Brown, Adams, or Hopkins. I would sit Mixon, even if it's a standard league at all those guys. This ain't hard for me.
Definitely it's a standard because Mixon right now is not scoring. He's not scoring.
Who has more touchdowns, me or Joe Mixon this year? I have to look.
Mixon has 2. So
all right, he's got 2 more than me. I'm coming for you, Joe. Let's go, baby. DB Cooper, who to start, Hurts or Mahomes? Well, first of all, you need to trade one of these guys. I don't know what you're doing.
I don't know how he lives with himself every week trying to decide between these two.
No. I think you got to start Hurts this game. I mean, I know it's very tempting about Mahomes, but geez, this Houston game is going to get ugly.
I actually like Mahomes.
Because why? More contestant. Yeah, I get that. Trade whoever else is going to bring you back more. I mean, this is a great week to do it. Everybody's on a bye. There's a lot of buys this week. Trade one of these guys, DB. You got to. Go improve somewhere. Somebody would definitely be excited or Hurts. You can get Devonta Adams, I bet, for one of them.
Yeah.
And I would do that trade in a second.
Yeah.
This is a perfect time to go do a deal like that. Or go get Josh Jacobs. Go buy one of those 2 guys after that goose egg that they laid last week, because it's not going to be like that this week. Michael Conway, is Darrell Henderson worth holding on to at all?
I mean, he's one of those things where you ask yourself, okay, if he was on the waiver wire, would you be excited to pick him up? If the answer is no,
But you would pick him up, because I would too, just to cover it. So I would shop him around. I would look for teams that have I would look for the Saquon Barkley manager. I would look for all the people who have RBs on buy and say, hey, you need somebody in a pinch? I don't know if he can help, but he can help you more than me. I'm out. I'm done. I like this name. Don't give him the stick. Is Dorsett startable for Cook's owners in a pinch?
That is the only scenario in which case Dorsett is startable. I mean, I'm going to basically rank him as wide receiver 50 this week because he's projected to be the number 1 receiver, but we have no idea. I mean, the Eagles secondary is I would say, in my opinion, the best in the NFL. And
CJ Gardner-Johnson's played great the last couple weeks too.
So
an IDP monster.
You're chasing some potential volume with Philip Dorsett, but Dorsett's not good. That's the thing. He could get 9 targets and catch 2 balls. So,
also Davis Mills isn't good. So
correct.
Look, I would look elsewhere.
Yeah.
I would not be trying to replace Cooks with Dorsett. I'd be trying to trade Cooks and hope that you can get somebody else better. That's what you do. You take Brandon Cooks, you trade him, or you.
I would probably start. I'd rather start DeAndre Carter for the Chargers.
Agreed.
If Keenan Allen's going to be out, like they're playing the Falcons, he has
Yep.
Justin Herbert. Like those
Yeah.
are like, and obviously we're diving deep here, but I mean,
Josh Reynolds. I'd rather start Mack Hollins.
Yeah.
I'd rather start if Mecole Hardman's out there, maybe.
Would you
if he's
rather?
out there.
Would you start Julio Jones over Philip Dorsett?
Julio Jones doesn't play football, so no.
He got a touchdown last week.
I mean, Julio Jones. All right, let's get to Jerome Ward. Thoughts on DeAndre Carter?
Cool.
Speak of the devil.
There we go.
Oh, yeah,
I didn't even see that question, admittedly. Okay.
Yeah, we're fantasy pros here, guys. Fantasy pros.
But he'll be a full-time player in the slot in a great match against the Falcons. And like, look, if your quarterback's Justin Herbert, you have a good chance of putting up numbers, especially in a good matchup. So DeAndre Carter, I would play over Dorsett. So if that's what you're looking at, trying to plug in your Brandon Cooks hole, just hope that Keenan Allen doesn't go and you can play DeAndre Carter.
Dave 424, drop Gus or Waller. I need a roster spot.
I would probably drop Gus Edwards.
Fair enough. Luis Miguel Moreno. Guys, you are rock stars. Well, thanks, Luis. That's very kind of you. I'm 6-2. Yay, good for you. Pick one, Kirk or Rondale Moore for wide receiver 2 in the PPR.
I'll go with I'll pick one. I'm gonna go with Christian Kirk.
I get where you're coming from, but I really like Rondale's slot matchup this week against Seattle's slot corner. It's not good. I don't think you can go wrong with Kirk. Kirk's probably the smarter answer, but I like to live dangerously. Robert Lavelle, in PPR, who would you start? Allen Lazard or Josh Palmer?
Lazard.
Agreed. John Denny, what's the news on Mark Andrews? Is he startable or should I hit the waiver wire? I'd hit the waiver wire just in case, because these things have gotten real ugly real quick over the weekends where it seems like it's trending in one direction. So if you can right now, today, pick up somebody for free, do it just to hedge your bets. Would you agree, Andrew?
Yeah, and you have the option if you want to. You could potentially, if you can add Isaiah Leggley, you can have him as your backup, or you could add Juwan Johnson, who plays on the other side of that game as the Saints tight end. But I would mention, look, he's obviously banged up. The Ravens have a bye week in week 10, and the Saints are the hardest matchup for tight ends. And it's not like they haven't played anybody. The Saints neutralize every single tight end they play. So I can 100% guarantee that they will throw everything at trying to stop Mark Andrews if he plays in this game. So for all those reasons, I'm definitely leaning towards hey, if you like a waiver wire option,
you know what I would pick up?
I would
Mike Gesicki. That's who I would go after if he was available. I like him, especially now that they've had all that changeover on the Chicago Bears defense. You take Roquan Smith away from a defense, it ain't the same. I know the safeties have played well. Brisker's been really good, but I'm telling you right now, there's a vacancy over in the middle. I would take a shot on Gesicki. And I would just play for a touchdown and hope. Let's get to John Denny. I don't know where you got John's question there. Sorry, Bruin Backhand. Hey guys, which would you stash in PPR, Latavius Murray or Chuba Hubbard?
Chuba Hubbard, because Latavius Murray can't get any value this week because they're on bye.
Fair enough. Demetrio, yeah, but what if you're thinking long term?
You are thinking. You're hoping that. Okay, so you need an injury though for any of these guys to hit. In my opinion.
Okay. So do you think Chase Edmonds really becomes an albatross around Latavius Murray's neck?
But if he's playing at all, then that's taking away from Latavius Murray's already small workload, which is also being split with Melvin Gordon. Whereas if Foreman goes down and you have Hubbard, okay, now you can start him the following week against the Falcons.
Smart. You're so smart. Demetrios Asprogiannis. Right, Chris? Demetrios Asprogiannis. I got it. Giannis Antetokounmpo. No, I'm glad you did put it in there, and I am all for taking on the tough name. My last name is Pizzapia. No one ever gets that right. So Demetrios, I did my best. So Demetrios, start Goodwin or Moore. I assume we're talking DJ Moore.
Godwin has 35 targets in the last 3 weeks. I'm starting Godwin.
Agreed. Justin Pearson, I need help, please. Brian Robinson or Terrace Marshall, or should I drop one to pick up Kadarius Toney in the PPR? I don't think we should do that quite yet. So you want to go B-Rob or Terrace Marshall in the PPR?
Terrace Marshall.
Okay, there you have it. Don't forget, everybody, we also have a lot of tools still available for you to help you win your leagues as part of that My Playbook suite. So if you haven't already, it's time to do it. Stay on top of all these things. Stay on top of who's out. We're getting to the nitty-gritty part of the season. We're approaching the playoff push. we're approaching the trade deadline too. A new trade tool just came out too on my playbook. It is really cool. Go check that out. They've done some updates there. Our team never stops trying to improve our product here at Fantasy Pros. So go to fantasypros.com/myplaybook or just download the app wherever you get your apps and go ahead and start syncing all of your teams to find out what's going to get you over the hump, what players you need to add. We've got these bye weeks still coming here, fast and furious. So go check out my playbook. So help you get through all of that. Get your trades, get your waivers, get your lineup set, everything you need in one suite of tools. How nice. And it's a great app. Let me tell you, it's fantastic. Let's get to another question here. Andrew Thomas, Miles Sanders, or Raheem Mostert, half-point PPR?
I'm going with Miles Sanders still.
100% Miles Sanders. Are you worried at all about Jeffrey Wilson's presence with Raheem Mostert in Miami?
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes Raheem Mostert it's unfortunate Raheem didn't have a better game like last week, because I think that he would have been a better like sell high candidate, because Jeff Wilson's going to have more work than Chase Edmonds ever did. So,
well, he's going to have goal line potential.
And we
too,
talk about with Mostert too, like the guy's made of glass. And this isn't the first time Jeff Wilson has backed him up for, 1 or 2 games and then take over the starting role. So I think that Raheem is someone that I thought was kind of entertaining as a buy low, but then obviously they made the move to get Jeff Wilson. So I really I'm trying to get Jeff Wilson everywhere. Like if he's on waivers, you want to scoop him. I spent a big favorite or a big fab bid on Jeff Wilson, because I was like, I want this guy on my team. Like the schedule for the Dolphins upcoming is so good for running backs. So if Mostert goes down or just gets, doesn't get the goal line touches like you said, Jeff Wilson's gonna have a lot of value.
Kyle AR, McLaurin or Godwin in the PPR? It's Godwin, correct?
Godwin, 100%.
All right, 2 for 2. Jordan Lake, desperate times as you can tell, and it's a laughing, crying emoji face. PPR Dynasty, is Eno Benjamin done? And I just drop him for one of Jeff Wilson, Pacheco, or Brian Robinson.
In a dynasty format, that's tough because he's been decent in a couple of his games filling in. James Conner is never healthy.
Brian Robinson has the most dynasty appeal because it seems like that's the direction they want to go eventually. Now, the problem is it's not a very exciting PPR play. He's more of a grinding kind of running back. Jeffrey Wilson, is now on his second team here. Maybe he's a better investment. Pacheco, again, all three of these guys I think are more exciting than Eno Benjamin to me.
I guess for me, it's if you're trying to get the most like value, for like dynasty long term. I think I'd actually go with like Pacheco, honestly.
Well, that's the question is of Wilson, Pacheco, Robinson, and Eno, who do you want to have going into next year? Or should I say, who is least likely to get replaced? Because that's the thing. There's going to be a lot of RBs out there. You're going to have Antonio Gibson's going to get cut probably. You're going to have Miles Sanders, a free agent. There's a few guys out there that, obviously some RBs are going to be available. So I don't see Eno being that guy. Wilson, meh. Pacheco, maybe. Brian Robinson, yes. I think Brian Robinson is that guy next year.
Yeah, I think the way that you spun that conversation, I think that Brian Robinson, because he is the guy that is replacing Antonio Gibson, not, we're going to replace Brian Robinson, whereas Jeff Wilson's always been a backup. Like, no one really values him except, ex-49ers staff. Eno is a 6th-round pick. Isaiah Pacheco was a 7th-round pick. And we talk about this with guys like James Robinson. Even at James Robinson's peak, as an RB1, you still could never get RB1 value for him in Dynasty because he was undrafted. Like it's so hard for them to write it off. Whereas Brian Robinson was a 2nd, 3rd round pick, like a day 2
he had
pick.
A good career in Alabama. He's just he's just more of a traditional quote unquote running back. I think that's more of the
Robinson's
style between the tackles kind of thing. But I understand it's not as exciting in PPR, but I think if we're all saying who has the most potential to be the starting running back for his respective team next year, it's Brian Robinson. That's the guy. Kareem Hunt's a free agent. There's going to be a lot of, last year was the year of the quarterback movement. We talked about that last November, December, and my goodness, were we right? But this year, I feel like it's going to be the running back movement. You're going to have a lot of RBs changing teams.
Scoop up Brian Robinson, and the minute that they get rid of Antonio Gibson, put Brian Robinson on the block, trade him, and profit.
There you go. Profit. Luis, would you trade Olave for DJ Moore? I would not. Andrew, would you?
I would not either. I don't buy Michael Thomas ever coming back at this point. So
never.
And Olave's been so good as a rookie. Together. He's been dynamite.
I'm so mad because Michael Thomas, those first couple of games, it looked like things are going to be okay. And if you got him cheap, you're like, I don't care if he's touchdown dependent. You just keep scoring touchdowns, my friend. Just keep doing that. We're all good. We're copacetic. And here we go. We got hit over the head with it again. Who got next radio? Tyler Boyd, Curtis Samuel, or Mecole Hardman? Who to start in the PPR?
Tyler Boyd. Yeah,
Boyd's
easy for
probably
me.
the safest one. Jacob Reinhart, trade Aaron Jones and Michael Thomas for Devontae Adams. Yes, I do this.
Yeah.
Do it. Must love labs. You like? Are you a dog guy? You a cat guy? You got fish? What do you got?
I like labs. Yeah, I like labs.
Yeah, I like labs. I'm a dog guy. I don't have a dog because I have 2 kids and that's enough work. But I like the dogs. I'm a dog guy too. Half PPR, Duvernay, Samuel, or B-Rob. Thank you for Must Love Labs.
I'll go with Curtis Samuel. I like the matchup in the slot for him, and I like the game environment for Washington and Minnesota.
Shadow Wolf, who I'm pretty sure is a character from Metal Gear, I think. I feel like at least. Pittman or Thielen in the full PPR. Oh, testing your love of Michael Pittman here.
Because it's full PPR, I will go with Pittman because I think he'll still catch a lot for maybe not that many yards, but Thielen is way more touchdown dependent, so I would go
13 targets, 8 receptions for 27 yards. About 10. So look, everybody's asking about Duvernay and Palmer. So let's just put it out there. Let's talk about this week, and I'll talk about rest of season. Palmer definitely this week for me still, because it's shaping up to see like Keenan Allen's not going to play, and Palmer could be a huge beneficiary in this. Yes, you agree?
Yes.
Okay. Now, rest of season, I did lay out to you the uncertainty of Keenan Allen, the uncertainty certainly of Mike Williams. Does Palmer have more value for the next month of November than Devin Duvernay, considering, it looks like Rashad Bateman's going to be out for a while and Mark Andrews is also not healthy. Although you mentioned Duvernay does have a bye coming up and Palmer's past his.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Palmer all the way. I don't think it's actually particularly close. You said he's already had his bye week. I think Palmer's the better player in general than Duvernay is. I know that Duvernay's, sparked, has probably actually looked better this year than Josh Palmer has at times, but I still think that Palmer's a good guy. I think he's a good player. I think that he wasn't healthy to start the year coming off the bye week. I think that he is healthy now, and I think he's going to step up. He also has, I think, Justin Herbert, that offense, how pass heavy it is, even with, Austin Eckler, like obviously soaking up targets every single week. I think that just lends itself to more fantasy production, whereas the Ravens are, I still don't really understand their identity on offense. Like they were doing this one thing at the start of the year. They looked super explosive, like ripping off these big plays to Rashad Bateman. And then just he got hurt and then everything just kind of crumbled. And
it's no good. It's no good. I thought this would be a year where it felt like Lamar was going to stick it to the Ravens for not giving him that contract. And now it feels more like Lamar's going to be somewhere else. You know who should go after Lamar? The Jets. That's who should go after Lamar.
Oh my God.
Let's go.
As a Patriots fan, I hate that. But as a fantasy fan and as a Garrett Wilson fan, I love it.
If you're the Jet, could you imagine you get Breece Hall hopefully back healthy?
Oh my God.
You give him Elijah Moore. You give him Garrett Wilson. Let's go. I mean,
Corey Davis, Joe?
Well, I was in a conversation last night with somebody, Corey Davis, where we were somebody said Aaron Rodgers maybe will leave and go to the Jets. I was like, Aaron Rodgers wouldn't last 15 minutes in New York City. You're crazy. And I know where they play in New Jersey.
No,
so
he's following the Brett Favre trajectory. He goes to the Jets and then goes to the Vikings when Kirk Cousins leaves.
You want to talk about he's too sensitive for the small Wisconsin media. Okay, you're going to go to New York.
Oh,
you realize how ugly that's going to get, how quick? Oh my God, no. Lamar, I think, will be fine. People would love Lamar and embrace him. I think it'll be fun. We shall see. Let's go to Christina Santiago's question here. Start 1.5 PPR. Brandon Cooks, well, not starting him. Alec Pierce, because Cooks is out. Demarcus Robinson, Renfrow.
I'm going to start Alec Pierce.
I think that's the right call, too. That's where I was going. Larry Johnson, Grandmama. Higgins or Waddle in the full PPR. I'm going Waddle, baby. You gotta start the Waddle.
I tell anytime ask me a question about the Dolphins players, I just pick them because they're right.
All the Waddle. Yeah. Speaking of Dolphins players, another perfect segue. Andrew Erickson's crushing the segues for me this day. Triz Leslie, Lamar or Tua?
Tua.
Yeah, that's right. You've come to the dark side. B-Money. What running back should I trade Joe Mixon for in a full PPR? I'd take Stevenson for him right now if he gave him to me. Would you take Stevenson over Mixon?
100%. Yeah, Mixon is like kind of teetering in he's about to get like the Leonard Fournette like branding. Like it's like teetering with him. So it's like, okay, like a couple more weeks of like this production, it's going to be talking about him like we're talking about Leonard Fournette.
In 75 to 80% of leagues, you could pull that trade off right now. You could get
For Stevenson?
Ramondre for Mixon. And I think it's the right call. I'd rather have Stevenson rest of season. Ramondre's the dude. Like, that's it. Anybody else pop to mind too? Like, who would you be targeting? Trying to get a running back back in the deal here for Mixon? Because, again, right now, like I think
Jacobs, maybe? No, probably can't get it done. I mean, he's stuck
if you
last
could, I
week,
would
so,
do it.
yeah.
If you could, I would do it. I don't think you can get that done. Would you take Foreman for Mixon?
I think it's probably a little risky.
Okay.
Because Mixon's not gonna he's not gonna totally zero out. The thing with Mixon, the difference between Mixon and Fournette is there's nobody breathing down Mixon's neck for touches. Like, they're not gonna give P. Ryan this massive role, and the same thing with Chris Evans. Whereas the Buccaneers have another running back that is actually potentially better that could actually take over Fournette. Whereas Mixon, he has a floor every week still, so it's not like he's totally useless. But his ceiling, with obviously we talked about, he has 2 touchdowns this year, which is just part of it's just kind of just variance, but it's obviously hindering his fantasy ceiling.
Here's another one. Stevenson's one. Pollard would be another guy. Miles Sanders, especially if you can get him for today. If you can pull that trade off in the next couple hours, do it.
The Eagles are a team that it's crazy because they really haven't been in any like what happens when this team is in a competitive game? Well,
we're gonna find out eventually.
God. I don't know. I mean, they have the easiest schedule left, so we'll see.
Speaking of competitive, have you seen the touchdown leaderboard and what's going on there? Hearts 24K still at the top in our Discord channel. We have that fun Stephon Diggs jersey we're giving away. We're doing all kinds of weekly prizes here. So if you haven't already, go to fantasypros.com/chat. You can join, go call some touchdowns for the week, make yourself feel good about all your players being on bye. Maybe you win some t-shirt money, some hat money from Fantasy Pros. But look, nobody can touch Hardest 24K, just crushing this contest. Unbelievable. Who will challenge him or her? Whoever Hardest 24K. We don't know. We just know they're at the top of the leaderboard. They're number 1. Let's get to Billy Biceps' question. Billy Biceps wants to know, Pittman or Cooks? Well, it's already been decided for you. It's Pittman because Cooks is out. Let's get to Grant LA. I lost 5 players due to injury, and my wide receivers are hurting. Should I trade Justin Jefferson for 2 or 3 pieces? Should I wait? I'm 6-2. I would wait at 6-2. I would not deal Justin Jefferson. Your thoughts, Erickson? Do you agree or disagree?
I agree. I mean, the fact that you were 6-2 means you can maybe take a loss here or there and not have to trade off a elite piece like Justin Jefferson because you're going to want him in the postseason. He already had his bye week. And because of all the injuries, chances are you can maybe stumble into a DeAndre Carter or a Terrace Marshall on the waiver wire. You kind of just plug and play. Yeah.
Even look for guys who might get dropped too, like Wandale Robinson might get dropped because of the bye this week. Start to look at the people who just got dropped too. There might be some interesting names because of the bye, because people needing people that should not be out there. So piece it together. Don't trade Jefferson at 6-2 because Jefferson's the guy you're going to need in the playoffs. Like if you're going to win, it's on the back of Justin Jefferson. Let's go to Dominic Gazzetti. Hey, yo, Joey P, PPE, how you doing? Thanks for all you do. Higbee or Pitts? That's the question from Dominic. Dominic, I'll see you later at that thing. Not that other thing, the first thing. I'll see you there later. All right. Dominic's question. What do you want to do with Higbee or Pitts?
I'm going with Higbee because I don't think Cooper Kupp's going to play. So
wow. You don't think he's going to play against the Bucs?
You can't play if you're injured. Sorry.
Well, you can play if you're injured.
I don't think he's going to play.
Guys do all the time.
I think that's stupid then. So, I mean, Higbee has seen so many targets in this offense. The Buccaneers are bad against tight ends. And
can't get that drop out of my mind from last week though, where it was nothing but AstroTurf ahead of him. It was unbelievable. Yeah, but what are you gonna do? Let's get to Coyote J. QB start Lawrence or Murray. It's Murray for me. Andrew, you agree?
Yes, Kyler Murray.
All right. Dan H. Pacheco or Romeo Doubs at the flex. 0.25 PPR. How snooty of you. Yeah, perhaps we'll give you a small amount for the catches, just a little bit, just a small amount there.
I'll just roll with
0.275.
I will roll with Doubs here.
Yeah, I will too, but gross. 0.25 PPR. Like, just what are you doing? Just go to half or go to standard. What are we doing here? I gotta make it weird. What are you doing?
Yeah,
bro. I haven't broed somebody in a while. I want to bro them over 0.25. That's ridiculous. I mean, what? Why? What good is that? How are you going to plug that in? How are you going to get good advice from anybody? Because nobody's doing that except you. Bro, enough. Next year, you go forward with the full half PPR. Look at all the inflation going on here. It's time to inflate your PPR leagues a little. Justin Gill, sell high on A.J. Brown following his smash week. And if so, what tier of RB would you consider fair? I don't want to sell A.J. Brown. I want to get somebody to overpay for A.J. Brown. That's where I live. How about you, Erickson?
Yeah, I mean, I want like Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey. Like that's what I want.
Well, you ain't going to get them. Would you take...
Well, then you're not selling high then, I guess.
You haven't heard my offer. You've already shot down my offer. You haven't even.
Well, that's what I want. I've already set the market.
But maybe you want something you don't even know. You don't even know. You haven't even heard it yet.
I'm a man that knows what he wants.
Your fiance is so lucky. Travis Etienne and Gabe Davis for AJ Brown.
No,
Really?
I would rather have AJ Brown.
What about Ken Walker and DeAndre Hopkins?
I would take that. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, see, I knew I could throw something out there. Well, you need somebody, Dustin, you got to get an overpay for A.J. Brown off that week. Okay, don't just trade him because he's great for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, he's good.
Yeah, he's good. Don't just trade him on principle because he had a good week. You need him to have other good weeks for you. See, that's how it works. Foolish TV, which is sometimes what I feel like we're doing here on the YouTube channel. Khalil Herbert or James Conner?
Herbert.
Yes, all the Khalil Herbert. Daddy wants to know. Chris, is that you? Do I start Gus or Eno this week? Well, Gus ain't going the right direction. Or drop one to pick up Jeffrey Wilson Jr. So you want Eno or Jeff Wilson?
I mean, it depends on what James Conner. I mean, if James Conner doesn't play, I'm going to start Eno. But if if James Conner's active, I'd rather start Jeff Wilson. So
Fair
I would
enough.
try to pick up. I'd probably just drop Gus Edwards and pick up Jeff Wilson at this point.
That's the right move. Listen to Erickson. He's 100% correct. Joe Fragnito, thoughts on James Conner this week and rest of season? Look at you. You are batting 1,000 with these segues. How are you doing it?
I don't know.
So
Maybe our monitor is really our moderator is really setting us up with these softballs.
That can't be it. That's not it. That's definitely not it. So let's go to this next one here. Your thoughts on James Conner for Joe Fragnito?
I mean, not good. Like he hasn't been healthy. The Arizona Cardinals can't run the football. Their offenses throw the ball to Rondale Moore, Zach Ertz, and DeAndre Hopkins. And James Conner just had. Yeah, I don't think he has a lot of value, honestly.
Andrew Gross is living up to his name because actually no, I'm sorry, it wasn't Andrew Gross. It was another one. Elliot Alderson actually had this question. My apologies. We'll get to you, Andrew, in a second. We'll get to you. Elliot Alderson, plot twist, Brady to Jets. How frustrating would that be? I mean, I can understand it if you're Tom Brady. Tom Brady would be fine in New York. Would they ever accept him, though? Could you imagine? That would really tarnish the legacy. But if Tom Brady's going to play till he's 50 now because he's single and ready to mingle, like I feel like it's not a bad spot if you're Tom Brady. You got a defense. You get to play the Patriots twice a year. Stick it to them. What do you think?
I would literally hate that so much.
It might cause me to take my giant Tom Brady jersey plaque from Pristine auction down for at least a year or two. And then when he finally did retire at the age of 67, I'll put it back up. But I think for a little while, I'd have to replace it. Andrew Gross, update on Derrick Henry, please. Well, if you had the My Playbook app, you'd be getting all these updates. Andrew Erickson, any update on Derrick Henry? I mean, I wouldn't panic over a Wednesday rest day for Derrick Henry. Most running backs this time of year get the Wednesday off anyway, so don't freak out.
Well, they said it was his, technically it was his foot, right? And we know that he hurt his foot last year. So, look, yeah, it's one report, so I wouldn't overreact. But, you know, if we get more foot stuff coming out about him on Thursday, on Friday.
Did Rex Ryan drop anything about the foot stuff? I don't know if he's got anything on. I got to check Rex Ryan's
I mean,
Twitter
look,
for the
people are talking about A.J. Brown as a sell high. Derrick Henry can be a sell high, too. He just rushed for 200 yards against the Texans.
All year, you and Debro fighting me about Derrick Henry.
You didn't draft him either, so it doesn't matter.
I didn't get a chance because everyone let me take Justin Jefferson in every draft with a top 5 pick. So I just did that instead. If someone else was in a league with me who was as handsome and smart as me and took Justin Jefferson ahead of me, I would have gladly taken Derrick Henry, and it would have been perfectly fine. Let's go to Jacob Glazer, 10-man, half PPR, Higbee, Frymouth, or Dulcich.
Rest of season, I mean, I'm just going to roll with Higbee.
I like Frymouth now with Claypool gone more. I'm just saying. I like Frymouth anyway, but I
Yeah.
like the Steelers. The Steelers are my favorite buy low team right now. I want to buy on Pickens. I want to buy on DJ, Najee, Freiermuth, Kenny P. I want all of them. It's a
Wait,
better
so
schedule.
you say that about them, but you don't want to buy low on Broncos players because they have a really easy schedule too.
I'm not buying low on Broncos players for a different reason. I believe the coaching staff has their head completely up their rear end and they're completely overwhelmed, and I don't trust them. I trust Mike Tomlin. I think Mike Tomlin knows what he's doing.
Sure.
He's earned my respect. Nathaniel Hackett. I always call him Paul Hackett. Like living in the past. Wrong Hackett. I wish it was Paul Hackett. I'd probably trust him more, but Nathaniel Hackett to me just has looked so overwhelmed. I'm not against buying low in the Broncos right now. But I just feel like I think it's harder to do. I don't think people want to give in yet on it. I think they want to give in on the Steelers.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Like I would say the Steelers are definitely more written off.
Oh, yeah.
And so their market value is much, much cheaper. So that's a
right.
good point.
Right now, if I was trying to get Cortland Sutton from you of all people, you'd be like, I don't know. I don't feel like I want to do that. But if I'm trying to get, Najee Harris from you, you're like, yes, please take it.
Right.
And I say, yes, I will.
Yeah.
I will take that. Let's go to Matthias Uchoa. Who can I get for Josh Jacobs? I wouldn't be running out the door to sell Josh Jacobs just because last week was bad. Let's not overreact to a bad week. But looking who you could get for Josh Jacobs, I mean, can you get Travis Etienne for him? I think they're too close already.
I don't think you can get. I mean, not after Etienne's massive week last week. You're not going to be able to get him for Jacobs.
That's what I mean. Like at best,
you can't trade him now. Like you
at
can't
best,
trade him
you
off
can
a
get
bad
Miles
game.
Sanders in a piece, maybe Ramondre in a piece, maybe Pollard in a piece. Like those three guys we talked about before, because you're kind of in that same. It's kind of the same deal as a Mixon deal, except Jacobs has actually been good. But
yeah, I just wouldn't trade him right now. Like this is the worst time to trade him.
It's funny. You could get more from Mixon, even though Mixon hasn't been as good, because Mixon still has that weird fake attachment to his draft capital. Whereas Josh Jacobs, nobody wanted him, so nobody really believes.
Yeah, so then it's like when he has a bad game, it's like, see, I was right. He does suck.
He does suck. He's been great for 7 weeks. What are you doing? Stop it, Matthias. Don't do this. Let's go to Trey Hawkins here. Full PPR, Deon Jackson or Garrett Wilson.
It depends.
JT's out.
Yeah, if JT's out, then you start Deon Jackson. But
okay.
If not, then you start Wilson.
Easy. Let's go to Cal Goo. Pittman or Swift?
Swift.
Okay. I did not think you were going to go that route. I would go Swift too. I'm so proud of you. Cody Schlott. Terrace Marshall or Paris Campbell?
Terrace Marshall.
Dane Logan. What RB would you want to stash after the trade deadline moves? Jeffrey Wilson, Deon Jackson, or Nyheim Hines? Kind of want to stash all three, not going to lie. I kind of want to scoop them all up, put them on my roster, drop whatever flotsam and jetsam is still there. I think they all have use, man. I really do.
I think Jeff Wilson has the most upside because if he becomes the starting running back for the Miami Dolphins, like explosive offense, then he could smash. Deon Jackson, you're hoping gets the volume, but Jonathan Taylor has to get like shut down, which hasn't happened yet. And Nyheim Hines is like, okay, so he's going to have James Cook's role, which has been nothing so far.
I don't
this
think
year.
see, we keep talking about this. I don't think he is going to have James Cook's role. I think he's going to have Isaiah McKenzie slot role.
Okay, but we say this all the time with running backs in the slot, and it never happens.
Well, Nyheim Hines is a little bit better than most in that role.
But they have like 3 slot receivers. They have a Shakir,
do they
have
which
McKenzie,
means they have none.
They have Crowder.
Crowder's hurt.
I know.
Isaiah McKenzie is no good. And he's returning
good.
kicks. He's no good.
Nyheim Hines returns kicks.
Yeah, I know, but let McKenzie go return kicks and let Hines go do that.
They have Duke Johnson on their team. Why don't they just put him in the slot?
I love guys like Duke. I love the guys who have been in the league for like 27 years. I love that. Where you look up, you're like, that guy's still on a roster. How is that possible?
Yeah, like why do they trade for Nyheim Hines anyway? They have Duke Johnson.
That's cold. Adam Bonner, trade Ramondre for Amon-Ra. Have Cook, Jacobs, and Pierce.
Yeah, I would do it. I mean, if you can only start 3 running backs.
Well, would you rather trade Dalvin Cook instead?
I mean, that may not be up to Adam Bonner.
Well, let's say it is up to Adam Bonner. He'll say he has a choice.
It really doesn't matter to me. I mean, Cook's already had his bye week.
Okay,
so
that's fair. So you'd rather have Cook rest of season over Ramondre?
In a vacuum, probably not, but depends on my roster. Depends on what my record is. It's close.
I don't think you can get him for Pierce. I think you can get him for Dalvin Cook. Andrew Thomas was offered a trade to give Tyler Boyd and receive Keenan Allen. No, don't do
just
it.
keep
I'm not
Tyler
a
Boyd.
nope.
I mean, you're
Just
kind of
keep him.
hoping Allen just like puts up what Tyler Boyd's been doing, but then you
I-
also inherit all the risk.
I don't know if Keenan Allen's going to play again. Rest of like I'm getting to that point now. It might be a lost season for Keenan Allen, which is a shame because
sucks.
there was once upon a time, I'm old enough to remember this, where people did not like Keenan Allen on their fantasy teams because Keenan Allen got hurt all the time, and then he had a couple really strong productive years, and he shook that injury tag, and now nobody remembers it. Nobody remembers it at all. It's like a distant memory. Sergio Guerra, Caleb Huntley, or Kenyon Drake in the PPR flex.
If there's no Patterson, I would play Huntley.
I'm playing Kenyon Drake. I'm sorry. I love you. I think you're wrong here on this one. You're going to play Caleb Huntley over Kenyon Drake if Kenyon Drake's the only guy there in a PPR?
Dude, they don't throw the ball to running backs. What
they might have no choice to throw it to, I mean, they threw it to Kenyon Drake a couple weeks ago. A little bit.
I mean, I just think Kenyon Drake is not good. Like, I'm sorry. I just don't believe in a running back that's not that good.
And is Caleb Huntley great?
Yes, he's looked really good the last couple weeks. He has 16 carries in the last
on the internet. It lives forever. Somebody's gonna clip this. Andrew Erickson says Caleb Huntley's great, and then next thing you know, Chris is making a short. Next thing you know, it's got 5 million views on the TikTok. Yeah,
whatever.
It's gonna be all over.
I mean, Kenyon Drake has burned people like 3 times already this year, and people are gonna go back like whatever. Fine.
All right, don't forget, everybody, like the stream, please. It really encourages us to keep going out here every single day and grind away. So like the stream, and if you haven't already, subscribe to Fantasy Pros. Drop a comment or question in the chat. You can win that DK Metcalf autographed jersey. Turn that bell on for notifications so you know if you are the big winner. And again, that's from pristineauction.com. So go subscribe to Fantasy Pros because we've got in-season content still going strong. We've got off-season content going and draft coverage. So many amazing things you want to be part of here at Fantasy Pros, not just during football season, because football season isn't just football season now. It's 365 days a year. For Chris, our producer, I think it's more like 472. I'm pretty sure he has that many days. He does like a time change where he goes back and he works more than any other human being. It's pretty amazing. Let's get our last question here. Stoller Joseph. Who do I trade Saquon for? Chase went down and I need a wide receiver. You don't trade Saquon, but if you really want to, what do you do here? Do you want to trade Chase or do you want to trade Saquon to try to replace Chase? I feel like that's chasing your tail, no pun intended.
I mean, it seems like he wants another wide receiver. So, I mean,
yeah, but you better get a running back and a wide receiver back for this.
I mean, if you want to trade for like Tyreek Hill, then I would do that. I mean, you just go down the elite wide receiver list, and that's what we trade Saquon for. Like, that's it.
Well, let's talk about because that list is getting smaller and smaller. Right now, it's Jefferson, it's Diggs, it's Hill. Is it Kupp?
I'm not trading for an injured player, no.
Right. It's not. I don't think AJ Brown for Saquon's a deal I want to make. So really, it's Hill, Diggs, or Jefferson. Or you could just trade Chase to somebody else and get somebody else. Trade him to a team that's got a better record than you and hope that you can meet them in the playoffs and maybe get lucky and maybe you don't end up facing
Devonta Adams for Chase. Who knows?
Right. That's the kind of deal you make. I don't think this is people make a mistake. Something's going right for their team and then they want to, oh no, I missed a player. By continuing to make your team more mediocre, you're not doing well. That's not the path to success. The path to success is to get the players to move the needle. Don't trade them away. Saquon's one of those needle mover guys. Andrew Erickson, a needle mover. I want to thank Andrew for all of his incredible efforts. Thank you for watching today. Don't forget to download My Playbook. Go to fantasypros.com/myplaybook or download the app. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you again to Chris, our illustrious leader behind the stages, making it all happen here. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For Andrew, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.
Thanks for tuning in to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out our featured videos. And while you're at it, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Fantasy Pros so you can get the latest news and updates to give you the edge you need in your